Thom Hartmann here on the best of the rest of science and green news. You need to know this. Most Americans understand the basic ways that global warming is damaging our planet. They recognize that warmer temperatures mean bigger storms, longer droughts, higher sea levels, but they don't realize the ways that climate change impacts their personal health. According to a new study from Yale University, 60% of Americans have given, quote, little or no thought, end quote, to the health consequences of global warming. EcoWatch.com summarized that recent study and explained that only 1 out of every 10 people gave this issue a great deal of thought. To make matters worse, the fact that many are not thinking about this issue means they don't even know what impacts on their health are caused or worsened by global warming. Only 14% of those surveyed by Yale researchers were able to correctly name asthma as one health problem affected by climate change, and fewer than 5% of people were able to name anything else. Most people had no idea that smog and air pollution contributes to lung disease or that food and waterborne illnesses become more common in warmer temperatures. Many Americans are unaware that ticks and other insects spread diseases more rapidly in warmer climates, or that heat strokes and injuries become more common with heat waves and superstorms. These are only a few of the ways that rising temperatures already impact our health, and too many of us have no idea that these issues are linked to the destruction of our planet. The Yale researchers said, quote, public health actions, especially preparedness and prevention, can do much to protect people from some of the impacts of climate change, end quote. Fighting for our environment isn't only about saving the future of our species. It's about protecting our health right now. Perhaps if people understood how they are personally affected by global warming, they'd be more involved in the fight to protect our planet. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors began taming wild animals and keeping them as pets. Scientists have long understood how generations of domestication made animals tamer, but it wasn't until recently that researchers figured out why animals' appearances changed along with their temperament. A new study by geneticists at Washington University in St. Louis found that the very cells that respond or correspond to tameness also contribute to how some physical features develop. Researchers studied the genes of house cats to determine that these cells, called neural crest cells, affected animals' facial structure, pigment, and even their fight or flight responses. Scientists are not sure whether early humans selected animals based on tameness, which inadvertently linked to a different appearance, or whether our ancestors picked animals with different physical traits and unintentionally selected tamer creatures. Regardless of why these early animals were selected, it's interesting to learn that the evolution that made animals act like members of our families also made them look like our beloved pets. The world's oceans are virtually overflowing with plastic. According to a new study by the Five Gyres Institute, our oceans contain 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic. That works out to about 700 pieces of plastic for every single person on Earth. In order to obtain their measurement, researchers took part in 24 different ocean expeditions and took samples from more than 1,700 different locations. In fact, they said that their estimates are highly conservative and may be considered minimum estimates. That means there may be even more than the 260,000 tons of plastic in our oceans than they calculated. Although much of that plastic may have broken down to the point where it's no longer visible to the naked eye, the Five Gyres Institute explained that it never really disappears. We have dumped so much plastic pollution into our oceans that it can be found in the water table, on the seafloor, and even in the bodies of creatures like birds and sea turtles. And we're not doing enough to prevent more pollution or to clean up the plastic that's contaminating the world's oceans. If you can't imagine walking through a pile of 700 pieces of plastic garbage, why should we accept the levels of destruction in our oceans? We all know that exercise makes us healthier, but did you know that getting fit actually changes your DNA? Scientists at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden, in Stockholm, wanted to study how exercise affects our genes. So they had to come up with an experiment that controlled outside variables. Because so many aspects of our lives, like diet and pollution, can alter our DNA, scientists had subjects exercise only one leg, so that each person was their own control group. After a 3-month study, researchers found that the DNA in the legs that worked out had significant changes that weren't found in the legs that stayed dormant. The DNA from the legs that exercised showed improvements in insulin response, energy metabolism, and lower inflammation levels. Those changes to the subject's DNA were not found in the leg that did not get exercised. The study showed that exercising literally changes the way our genes work and provides benefits far beyond a healthy weight. Getting physically fit makes us healthier all the way down to a molecular level. And finally, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says don't frack with his state. Earlier this month, his administration made the decision to ban hydraulic fracturing in New York State because of the health and environmental risks. Back in 2008, former Governor David Paterson declared a moratorium on fracking in New York State while the practice was being studied. Years later, when those results came in, Governor Cuomo decided that the safety of his state and his citizens was more important than gas industry profits. He said, quote, "Let the science decide." More and more lawmakers are recognizing the dangers of hydraulic fracking and doing everything in their power to keep natural gas wells out of their communities. Whether it's because of earthquakes, air pollution, water contamination, or the toxic waste that's left over from the process, fracking should be banned in every state. Hopefully more lawmakers will take a clue from Governor Cuomo and help end this destructive practice once and for all. And that's the way it is for this holiday week of 2014. I'm Thom Hartmann on Science and Green News.